Yo, 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 yo. What is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder. And yes, you guessed it. We are finally going to be touching on the kind of BD family, Server 32, ANCS, Seal/MILF, and others, if you will, drama situation that has been happening within this KVK merge group. However, we are going to be approaching things differently than how others have covered the situation/news thus far. One of the few things that I actually went and did this time, which I feel really good about because I finally had some time to do this. I went around and I basically interviewed and asked questions for the top 10 alliances here in the kingdom. So we'll show you that off real quick, but just so you can kind of see, we have 27, 31, 32, 43, and 53 here. So what I did is I went here and I messaged, with the exception of Chisel because he's already done some coverage on it, but we messaged the BDO leadership. So that was R5, R4s, and then I think some players, and then we did Nova K, NK, MILF, DNS, FALS, MF, BDM, ANCS, INWA, and LOPOC, or LOPC or LOPC. So the top 10 alliances for R5s, R4s, and a few members from some of the alliances we reached out to as well. And I just simply asked them, what are your thoughts on the situation? I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd love to hear your thoughts through your own perspective so we can try and get a diverse level of feedback, because some people may be more involved, less involved, but you could have multiple individuals from different alliances that all know a little bit of something, or maybe were witness to something that factored into what actually transpired. So today we are going to be showing you that feedback unfiltered, right? Because I got permission to use this, along with me reaching out to what you probably could consider to be the big three individuals involved from the alliances that were in a relevant or best position to give some feedback on what happened. And that basically is from Seals/MILF, that's LuhGinus, who's the R5. From ANCS, that would be PotatoFarmer. And then from BDO, I did reach out to Duz, and I actually have a special cool thing I'm going to tell you guys about at the end of the video. But Duz basically just said, hey, I'd love to comment at a later time. I'm just not at this moment. And so he said, hey, Mathurian can go ahead and fill you in on the situation. So I got some feedback from them. We're going to read that off a little bit later. We're going to go through some of the YouTube video comments from Meower's video and Chisgel's video. But first, we're going to start by laying the land in kind of a TLDR outline, right? So we'll do that first. Then we're going to read feedback from the players that we contacted from those 10 alliances. I'll read you the feedback from the big three individuals. Then we're going to go through some comments on the videos, and then we'll end with some conclusive thoughts. Okay, let me get some agua and do a little cough, throat clear. Okie dokie. Here we go. If you can't tell, I'm slightly excited. Okie dokie. Let's go. Wait, I got to switch this up. Bam, bam. Here we go. All righty. So, let's start off at the top. So, again, I did this outline to kind of show you guys what happened. I'm going to go through this pretty quick because I want to try and get to everything that we can, and I don't want the video to be incredibly long, even though everyone probably is laughing at me now when I say that. Main occurrences. So, this is kind of what we have as the kind of creme de la creme, really high level. So Blood Family, right, played mediators between ANCS, Seals/MILF to try and solve the hurdle of bad-mouthing actions that had transpired throughout the seasons. ANCS, right, ongoing bad blood with Seals/MILF via actions and words used. BD took their side when Seals said they would attack ANCS, wanted PF PotatoFarmer out. Seals wanted ANCS to merge into them, and when they declined, were told players wouldn't respond well to low-spend free-to-play being involved in leadership. Seals/MILF wanted the PF situation addressed, but felt, here we go. Wanted the PF situation addressed, but felt BD was not doing anything, so they felt the need to take initiative. This caused BD to side with ANCS, where then DNS and NK stepped in to assist them with ANCS, right? So the short version is that, and there were things that obviously transpired before this, we'll get into some of those, but the short version is that PotatoFarmer and from ANCS and potentially other individuals from ANCS and or SEALs were doing some bad mouthing or just some words were exchanged on World Chat, Balerian Chat, and that escalated things to a point where SEALs then said, well, we're gonna go attack ANCS, then eventually it either switched or added on to we just kind of want PotatoFarmer out. Given that a certain amount of time was provided from SEALs to BD, where they said, "Hey, BD, we'd love for you guys to help work out this situation, or we need this to happen." BD said, "Okay, give us some time." I think they had asked for 24 hours. They claimed that there was only 6 or 7 hours in reality that were provided, and then after that time, before they could have a moment to kind of figure things out and then come back to them with a plan, in this case being SEALs, they decided we're just going to go. And so BD said, well, at this point they didn't have an opportunity or a chance, again, with how everything played out, to figure out how they're going to mediate. And then eventually at that point kind of all hell broke loose. They end up defending ANCS, DNS and NK join up to assist SEALs, and then that's kind of where the fighting ensued, right? And that's kind of where the betrayal happened, because SEALs and ANCS were a part of the BD family, along with, I think, a few other alliances here and there that were on the boards. And so given that SEALs basically went from being allied with BD family and then now kind of went to the other side, right, because of what transpired, that's where you really kind of see the betrayal. That's really the short version of it. However, we are going to be going into some more detail. So let's continue. TLDR. We have ANCS SEALs and MILF had a back and forth for actions that escalated verbally right throughout the season. And I want to point out this TLDR, I actually confirmed this with the big three. So with LuhGinus, PotatoFarmer, and Mathurian. And I had just asked them if this was more or less accurate, again, at a high level. So ANCS SEALs MILF had back and forth actions that escalated verbally throughout the season. BD helped multiple times in mediating those situations between them. This caused SEALs MILF to want ANCS and or leadership out or gone. BDO was asked to mediate the situation and find a solution. BDO asked to kick ANCS members and allow them to be zeroed by SEALs MILF with no time to mediate. When a solution seemed not possible, SEALs MILF took next steps to attack ANCS PF, openly declared war against them. The short mediation window of about 5 to 6 hours, I think I said 6 to 7, SEALs MILF attacked BAM, which was BDM, which had ANCS players in it, and not the ANCS shell initially, which was a BD family shell. BDO defended ANCS. BD family defended their own family flags in this case. SEALs MILF reached out to MF for assistance against BAM, ANCS, BDM merge. D and S and K offered to assist SEALs MILF against ANCS. This created another attacking point, which applied more pressure on BD allies in Zone 4. Further war broke out in Zone 4. Now, I should clarify this as well. The sub-points that you see here were added after I got the responses back from the three individuals. So what they initially saw were the letters here. I just want to clarify that to be as specific as we can. Then we get to some situations. Right, that happened, right? So SEALs MILF for allies with BD, PotatoFarmer ANCS, right, had trash talked in INWA and LOPC, right? These are claims. I'm not saying that any of this was necessarily kind of confirmed by PotatoFarmer. I'm just, again, these are reports I heard from multiple people. PotatoFarmer ANCS, right, trash talked SEALs MILF leadership multiple times, saying that the reason BDO lost was due to SEALs, right? That was kind of the claim. SEALs MILF wanted an apology first. SEALs MILF wanted to burn ANCS due to this, but wary of BD defending due to the merge, right, of ANCS members going into BDO. Feelings of BD betraying SEALs MILF due to choosing ANCS over them. When only asked for PotatoFarmer's head, BDO said they would address PotatoFarmer, and that cooled SEALs MILF, but then PF was in BDM and later rejoined ANCS along with others rejoining back to ANCS as well. ANCS merging into BDO to supplement activity, right? This was something that I had heard mentioned from a few people. BDO chooses to side with ANCS, and then DNS and NK support SEALs MILF in attacking ANCS. SEALs MILF plans to migrate out to small server where they will feel valued. SEALs MILF respects Styles only stayed this long due to him being involved. SEALs MILF was formed by a group of BDO players who did not agree with the decisions of I guess BDO or BD family. And I want to point out some of these points throughout, right, are things that I've heard. Some of these have not been confirmed by others or not, which is probably a better way, more or less, for them to stay. Because, again, if I'm reporting on something, especially what you might see here, kind of in the miscellaneous situation, right, where, I had heard some things that were mentioned to me about, Does may have been migrating out with Seals. Chisgall went around Does on making decisions without him. Seals, MILF covered downtime of BDO. Excuse me, Seals, MILF felt insulted, insulated in... There we go. Fix that with one backspace. Insulted after being verbally abused for a long time where BDO did nothing. Right? These were things that I just kind of heard from people that were mentioning to me, but not that I have vetted any of those ones in particular, which I guess is very similar to what you would see for a comment as well on, a YouTube video or potential feedback I'm getting. However, now let's get into the next phase, which is the actual feedback that we have here. So I'm going to start off with, let me just make sure I have the right window up first. Okay, here we go. I just want to make sure. Here we go. So this is feedback from players. Now, I left the alliance names up just so you know kind of where the feedback was coming from. I felt that would be a little bit more relevant and accurate in that sense. But again, this is from, these responses could be, I should say specifically, could be from leaders, officers, and then some players for some of the alliances that responded. And if you don't see anything, like for example, right, I put no responses, that just means I didn't get anything back. So let's start at the top. Now, I don't know if I'm going to read everything here, per se. We'll see. I mean, I'll at least show everything. So, we have here MF or Maverick Force says, yeah, listen, brother, I'm not 32. We are 43. We don't care. We are here cleaning up and taking advantage of Baldigle's drama. He doesn't want to treat his server correctly and keep making drama videos. All he's doing is pumping out content, even when half of it is absolute lol. 43, absorbing most of his players. Honestly, I believe Chisgall and Meower probably gave the best synopsis they could on the matter. I wasn't too involved with the politics on this stuff, but if you can find Melatonin, he's probably the most involved in all the drama as he chats with quite literally everyone. My personal vision on the situation was that Chisgall was right that we did want a fair fight. DS, NK, MF, FALS versus BDO, BDM, SEAL, INWA. Was a solid matchup. From a power versus power standpoint, it was something like 20 bill to 21 bill, which I actually thought was very illuminating for this player to provide with how close the matchup was, if that is accurate. Or something along those lines. Zone 5 was a race to place the AF first to block territory, NK won, and it turned into a major uphill fight for BDO and BDM and SEAL at this point in the zone. From this point, we believe this is when BDO, BDM, SEALs, NWA lost. MF and FALS had wrapped around the north and blocked SEAL and INWA from passing as well. All the active time of BDO was canceled out by the active time of DS and NK, plus a few extra towers. BDO was going to slowly be pushed out of Zone 5, whether SEAL betrayed or not. The whole Potato versus LuhGinus is a whole other issue that I know little to nothing about. And in some of the responses from BDO, they said a short version is that BDSL, SEAL, MILF made an agreement, then broke their word because they got mad when someone called them a name. Here we have answer. Honestly, as someone who is more disappointed than mad about this, here's what happened. ANCS leader insulted SEAL leader. SEALs got mad, and we tried to mediate a solution. SEALs then accused us of choosing ANCS over them and defending ANCS. This is not the case. We simply weren't going to start or participate in a war over something so petty while we were still fighting to win Zone 4. I mean, priorities, guys, since we wouldn't participate in their fight with ANCS over an insult, SEALs attacked us. To which we didn't even retaliate until DNS, NK, and MF, T, I want to say T5, but maybe there's something behind T6. I'll have to ask people because a couple people were like writing T6 to me. So there's probably something there. Started joining SEALs. At that point, we had no choice but to burn them out of Zone 1 before our enemies could TP in. These are 120 mil plus accounts, so they would never leave and would probably start alliances for the rest of Dragon Fam to enter our Zone 1. And then this was my follow-up. So if you see like where it says A1, that's the initial answer they provided. Q2, A2, that's if I asked a follow-up question. So I said, I see, thank you for the time to provide your POV, as I do appreciate. From what you noticed, did the involved parties of ANCS SEALs have any bad blood prior to this season, or is it just, or it really just started in Season 2? Answer was, so SEALs is a merged form of two groups. One group is from 31, another group is from Blood. Apparently the group from 31 did swap sides last season to the winning team, but ANCS was able to look past that and did assist in the efforts during our Diplo phase to get SEALs to ally with us. Then we have another one where it says they're just a toxic group, want to do everything to get the victory. They prefer to be known as traitors and backstabbers and get the final season reward. In their eyes, they are winners, but I see them as cheaters, exploiting and using whatever they get their hands on to cheats. Onto cheats at any occasion. My follow-up question, is it just limited to Seal's MILF in your view for what happened this season? Answer, well, Seal MILF went next level by betraying friend who played for 2+ years. To be honest, I like how we did the last few seasons. I had the most fun. It was full of fights every day, and I believe everyone had their share of fun. But I don't like people that betray allies. It feels like a D move. My follow-up, do you feel there was an opportunity to resolve the situation prior to it escalating, or not really? We had a 4-hour windows and most of the Diplo team was sleeping, but I feel that was part of their plan if the season didn't go well, how they wanted, so they can get them end rewards. Again, DNS, no responses. Then we get to Seal's MILF, right? I got one lengthy response. It says, well, to be honest, as MF, we were not a part of any drama. Wait, hang on. Did I get that wrong? Dun. Oh, no, this is right. Oh, I see. She's just shortening the name. I was like, hang on, why is that throwing me off? I don't think either DS or NK was part of it, too. It was all between them, and my perspective in talks. La and his crew was cool from the first moment we interact with them. Always responsive, respected each other, and they are talkative people. They are aware that we are not enemies, just people who simply want to enjoy the game by either fighting each other or together. So as a result, we fought against each other during Zone 4 and 5. If I'm going to be completely honest from my perspective, they, MILF, aka Seals, was the strongest force on the BD side. They were the ones who almost carried all the skirmishes to make the situation even or positive time to time for BD side. Cause DS and KMF, mostly active on Asian peak time. We have, of course, NA and EU players as well, but our peak activity time zone is an Asian-based time zone. And we faced with La, aka LuhGinus, and his crew, rallies and armies all the time, so they were the ones who fought most, BD's side mostly joining the battlefield on our downtime. And I can't tell that they were good fighters, to be honest. I kind of feel disappointed by their fighting skills, which mostly because they were being piloted multi-accounts by a few people. La and his crew wasn't happy about how BD officers was treating them, but still they fought with them until the latest event. Name calling in the global by insulting LuhGinus Seals R5. It wasn't a cool move. And the person who was name calling La is not even half of a player if we're going to compare their game performance, to be honest. But again, season didn't ruin. It was boring season all along. We never get the fight we wanted, to be honest. There wasn't too much challenge or push from their side in Zone 5 after we took the ramp and put our fort. So it was going to be sit and farm kill all season. After the recent event, which was huge disrespect to the MILF players and leader, they just decided to burn ANCS, and BD didn't give them the respect they deserved, to be honest. If I had an ally that we have been fighting together for a long time and the new ally leader insults them, I'm going to enter into civil war regardless. That's my opinion. I would side with my old ally. And the people who were right to not side with the new one, especially when they were the ones who insults my old ally, right? So they just love playing the victim. It all happened in Season 1+. They were recruiting and secretly talking to other alliances and making promises against Dragon Fam. And when Sean had to quit the game because of IRL, they just blamed Dragon Family and played victim. I think they used to get manipulated by their environment, so trying to use the same thing as a weapon through their content creator. Like, I watched the latest video. As MF leadership, we are not pissed off. We always side with our allies first, and we always keep our promises. They didn't ruin their season by switching side because season was already over. And they didn't invite us or Dragon Family to the Zone 1 like Chisgo trying to manipulate people again. If that was their intention, they would have contacted us before they choose to quit BD and ask our assistance to transfer our members to them so we can together burn them in Zone 1. Nothing like that happened. So basically, it's kind of over-dramatized by Chisgo yet again. If someone is right, regardless that we were competitors or not, we always welcome them as well. I don't care what BD or Chisgo fanboys thinks or not. If you're playing this game with people, regardless of their power, money spend, race, you have to respect them no matter what. I can agree there. They didn't respect Tamil, so this is all just a situation they created by themselves. It doesn't have any right to complain. Deuces or peace outers. Okay, continuing. Let me see. What do we have here? Response from NK Nova K. Said, hey brother, first fan of your content. Oh, thanks. As for the drama, I think a little is needed. There definitely needs to be a good guy, bad guy scenario for every server to give us all a little motivation. However, this new drama is a tad bit unnecessary. Coming from an alliance that was allied with BD in Season 1, only to be disregarded, it's kind of poetic justice to see the big bullies fall and get a taste of humility. However, I blame the situation on egos. The differences I've experienced from beginning with Nova and Dragon Family is everyone has a role, and they have no problem with helping all alliances achieve particular goals. That's a huge difference with the other side, where personal glory is more important than team building. And so I did have a few follow-ups here. I said, I see and thank you for the write-up. Disregarded, in what way do you mean, if able to elaborate? In Season 1, we were BDI Blood Italian and later BDWI in Season 1+. We occupied territory in Darlan with access to the bear. We were told we needed to give up our territory so BDM could have the bear. When moved, trying to be a teammate, we were attacked and were told we needed to move again, and we had to resurge in the Burning Lands, after being told we could only be considered a farm for the Blood family. We spent most of the season stuck and fighting everyone in Burning Lands until Nova reached out. We then merged with BG from Server 48 and became BG32. This is mainly one of the reasons how it became BD versus everyone. We actually researched twice on the Blood family's orders or be wiped out. We weren't whales, but we were low to mid spenders. Remarkably, we still have about 35 to 40 of our original alliance playing together. But we, and I'm sure other alliances, felt bullied and betrayed by them, way before BD felt they were wronged by the Dragon family. And my follow-up question was your alliance in Season 1 originally a part of the Blood family project going in to 32, or were you an independent alliance that later joined their family during Season 1? And again, I realize at this point, as I'm reading this through, he basically answered the question, or I should say they answered the question already. Now, from my understanding, we were a part of the Blood family. Our leader was handling the political talks. My first alliance was MFI, and we joined BDI to be a part of the Blood family. So again, right, kind of explains that there. Right when we landed, we were in the middle of BG, fought them. That's when Nova jumped in to help. Okay, yeah, so just a little bit more. Right, so basically they kind of came in as an individual, so a little bit of a different perspective there. Then we get BDM. Adults can't control their emotions. Chisel video will explain it in detail. Thanks, but no thanks. And again, this is what I'm saying. Like, I just everything was just copy pasted from their responses. Hey, refer to Chisel's video. My take on with his views. Then we have LOPC. The members from CO MILF that are from S31 are Alliance hoppers. They did this last season. All of us from S31 knew they would flip to the winning side. Potato played into their game. I was actually R4 for Ancients when the Seals MILF called us all free-to-play players after we refused to merge with them. My follow-up question was, from what you saw, was there pre-existing bad blood from some players, both alliances, from some players of both alliances, good geez, I can't spell, Seal, MILF, and ANCS, or did it really just start this season? The response was, there has always been issues with Seals who are alliance hoppers before the season. We tried to work with them before the season started. We were to start in the same zone and make S31's own story, but they flipped the last minute to be in Blood's starting zone. We were warned not to trust them before the season started. A lot of their merits also come from merit farming dead cities, so when they sell themselves as this elite team with all these merits, it's not true. Yes, they can fight, but look at their dead troop count from merit farming dead cities. Only if there was a way to tell the difference between rallies on cities versus or city attacks, we should say, versus pass attacks. Then my follow-up question was, I see, with that in mind, do you feel that the ANCS PotatoFarmer awards used may have been the exact exit or scenario that Seals MF saw to take advantage of as a way to switch sides, or that it may have just ended up happening that way due to the position they found themselves in? Response here. Oops, that was supposed to be 3, only if I could do numbers correctly. Yes, I think Potato gave them the perfect out. Yeah, they say they voted on this, but honestly, you can influence members of your group and paint a picture if you want them to see. In the end, the S31 members in the group just wanted to be on the winning side and have something written about them. Look at all this free publicity they are getting. Wink. They want to outshine Chase and Gee. And the Freak Show, we were supposed to make our own story in S31 this season, and well, they certainly did a good job. The Blood family didn't deserve what some of the leftovers from S31 gave them. We call ourselves the leftovers because that's what we were after everyone left S31. Then we get to Ancients, right? So we're almost done here. Then we'll get to some more stuff. So Ancient says, to make it short, Ancients wanted to keep it fair and interesting for everybody this season. DS family is too big, and if we would allied with them, it would be the end of the season at day 1. However, MILF leader acting up, trying to create drama by degrading low spenders, using others as Muppets to blame and justify his betrayal long planned before, inviting enemies and giving them leadership ranks few minutes after leaving the alliance. Other than that, we had fun. DS and BDO amazing fights. DS family fought crazy and deserved their win. However, MILF leaders' behavior to betray their own alliance was a very bad move. The way they acted and communicated seems to be a very insecure young kid behind the screen. You'll have to talk to Danny PotatoFarmer if you want information on that. That's up to him if he wants to speak on the matter. We pride ourselves on putting in effort and producing results with our allies here in Ancients. Not drama and betrayal like some of the other alliances. Insert to our rose as my quarterback gift. I wish I had that to play. I should have thought about teeing that one up. No, we stand behind him in his words. Nothing else really to be said. He's capable of admitting his faults in the matter while focusing on the larger points at hand that caused the genuine conflict. Not the excuses and attempts for provocation, just so one side could use it to flip. Others clearly are incapable of such attributes, and so it'll never be presented appropriately when one side can't acknowledge their many shortcomings. Best of luck, though, my friend. INWA, one person just said no opinion, so pretty much no responses there. And then I got one response from someone in DNA where they said, I'm out of this drama. If you can give me some information, I can add what I know and give my opinion. What I know is that the opposing alliance had good prospects for the season. I think they would win easily, but it wasn't like that. In fact, it was like a blow to them. In fact, they proved to be opponents of a much lower level, and it ended up that before the season even started. It's a tragedy because we're at the beginning and we have no hope of having a good fight. Firstly, thank you for taking the time to apply. You were referring to BDO, MILF, and CS. He said BDO, their expectations were very high regarding the season. They were making fun of themselves without even having fought. They were counting on 100% victory. All right, now let's get to the big three responses. And then again, we're going to read some comments after this that we have teed up as well. And then I'll kind of finish everything off with my conclusive thoughts. And again, I wrote these names out because I also asked these three individuals if it was fine for me to kind of post their responses. And again, I'll be stating something here as well in a moment. So from Seals, we had LuhGinus, right, where I asked them I just asked them each one question. I said, hey, in your view, what do you feel would have solved the situation before it got to where it did? LuhGinus says, our allies swiftly rejecting officially on global the accusation that Seals cost the whole coalition the season. Such a move would take but a couple minutes to decide on, unnecessary for a 24-hour consideration leadership meeting. The season was over. We had begun our recruitment for the migration the day before. This move is seen as an attempt to undermine and hamper our ability to grow separately from the BD fam, which has been an issue throughout the season. PotatoFarmer's response is, I think, an apology from LuhGinus for saying that Ancients is a mill alliance with free-to-play leadership would have solved everything. This is where the whole drama started. Basically, his words caused a reaction from me, which I understand isn't good, but I simply don't take such disrespect from anyone, especially if this person doesn't know what they're talking about, making it only go worse and worse every time we had to communicate. And then Mathurian from BDO, who again was given the okay by Does to reach out, says, I think if Seal had been willing to and had entered from the far left zone too, there would have been less opportunity for friction and less frustration with non-union troops trying to go through the same pass. If Seal and CS were just able to get along with each other, that would have helped. If we had just been willing to full betray our alliance to the NCS and kick them out to all be zero, that would have probably prevented it, though that is not who we are. If PotatoFarmer hadn't made that specific comment at that specific time, presumably war would not have started in that particular moment or way. Ultimately, if their hardline stance was going to be that the only way to avoid war was for us to kick our season-long allies out of our alliance and allow them to be zero, that was never going to happen. And if there's nothing else they would have accepted, then war was inevitable in the end. All right. Now I want to get to oh, hang on. I think it's this one. Yeah, okay. So I want to take a look at Meower's video real quick. Oh, and before I forget, I am planning to do a voice interview with either a voice or a text-based interview with Mathurian, PotatoFarmer, and LuhGinus. So I'll probably do those as either separate or I might do all of them and combine them into one. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, I'd love for them to be able to come on voice. I just think it's a little bit more impactful. So we'll see. For those that I can do on voice, then I'll probably do those separately. If it's text-based interviews, then I might just combine them into one. But I think it would just be great just to be able to kind of hear their thoughts from their own side. Okay, now I want to get into Meower's video, which has this comment on it, and I'll have a link to his video as well in the description. This was posted. He actually pinned this comment, and the reason I want to read this comment is because I thought that this comment was written pretty well overall. usually when someone takes the amount of time to write something long, especially when the comment reads where it kind of addresses everything from their eyes in somewhat of a formatted way, which this comment more or less does. I like to try and look at those a little bit more than, like the one-liners, so to speak, just because I think there's a little bit more. I think the comment is fuller, right? It has a little bit more life to it. So, though we don't know who this is, right? We could probably discern if we did a little bit of investigation. But this was posted by Cobb McKean 2633. I don't post much on social media, but it's time for someone without bias to post facts instead of viewpoints or opinions. I'll remain anonymous because I'm not dealing with the arguing so many people love. I honestly would probably love to talk to this person. So if you're watching this, just reach out to me and just let me know, like, hey, I wrote this. I have been with Blood since launch. I am a whale. I spent almost 20,000 so far. That gives an idea of where my power is. A lot has happened within Blood and around Blood since day one of the game. Blood was a top 2 alliance in the entire game across servers. Dragon is also very strong and now stronger than Blood. Don't think so? Check the server rankings. 75% of the top 100 power rankings belong to Dragon and NK. The other 25% are spread between Blood, Moon, Seals, MF, etc. The issue, again, this season is the blame game. There was a blame game last season when we lost to Dragon, and now it's another blame game because we lost to Dragon again. Guess what, Blood members? We lost because Dragon was better at everything in Zone 5. Nothing else needs to be said. But you guys want to cry and point the finger because, God forbid, you own up and just say, yeah, they outplayed us. That's not hard to say, and it's the truth. Dragon was smarter when it came to obtaining allies and focusing on key objectives. Now, I want to pause for a moment because this actually echoes something that we heard in previous comments that you may remember, because, again, I know we're at 31 minutes plus, where someone had said that the war was pretty much already over at that point, before all this drama started ensuing, as though it was pretty much already decided that BDO was kind of on, being pushed out and its potential allies being pushed out of Zone 4. Listen, people are saying Zone 5, it's technically Zone 4, right? You have Zone 1, your starting zone. You have Zone 2, which is where you're going into. And then you have your Zone 3, which you go into after Zone 2. And then Zone 4 is the final Dragon, right? There really isn't a Zone 5, but I don't know why people keep saying it. I will leave it be. Personal thing I have going on internally. Anyways, right, so I just wanted to point that out, right, that this echoes, right, you're seeing some consistency of trend here. So now we have, after Season 1, people have been slowly leaving Blood. I've seen and have been invited to come. Groups and groups leave. Wowzer left, Bu left, Abda left, Rex left, Moopsy left, Legius, I don't know if that was supposed to be Legionaius, or actually this person left, Paz left, Embers left, ASD left, Kwama left, there are many officers, the list goes on. If Blood is so awesome, why leave? And they are all whales. You don't see free-to-play members leaving because in reality they're just here to leech off the whales. Me spending almost 20,000 on this game has given the free-to-play members how many chests? What's that worth? 2 to 3 million power, give or take. Another issue, and I want to come back to this in a moment if I can remember. Another issue is Blood pushes players to be online at times that don't make sense for whales. I'm in North Carolina. Blood wants to push at 10 a.m., then 2 p.m., then all their meetings are at 4 p.m. Really, I have a serious career and family to raise. I don't have time to log in during the workday and play. This is how it is for most whales. That's why we can spend 20 to 40K on a game, because our time is more important. So just a quick thing on here. And I don't know how Blood Family does their meeting organizations, but what I can tell you for how I do it within families and projects that I run is we typically will do a poll out to everyone, right? So we'll usually have alliances that will send an alliance mail. They'll potentially also direct message players in their alliances. This is in addition to us sending to doing like a Discord poll. But typically, we will have all the alliances message DM players with a copy-paste template message. They'll send that out, and then they'll collect the feedback. They'll put it into a master spreadsheet, and then we'll collect all that data, sort it, and then we'll figure out what are the best times to do certain meetings, for example. And you can also use this as ways to gauge what are the best times to actually go and do raids, to have attackings, knowing what your peak and your offline time is, even if you're just getting averages, right? Moving on. But Blood always pushed this, and whales ended up quitting like Foe, MP Trauma, and many others, but them quitting allowed the leadership team to jump and steal their whale accounts for free. Look at our leadership group right now. How many of them have someone's whale account? All of them besides Chisgul. Everyone waited until a whale quit and was nice enough to let an R4 play their account. But that comes at a price because leadership is free to play, so the account stays at that power since a whale is no longer spending on it. If that's the case, that would be true. I noticed this trend, and it's one reason many active whales are leaving Blood and why Dragon has become so much stronger, because all of their whales are still spending and powering up when ours are stuck. The final problem with Blood is being hard-headed. It seems leadership can do no wrong, and it circles back to who can we blame for us losing instead of just admitting we lost to a better opponent. I don't like Dragon, but at least I can say yes, they were better players this season and last season in many respects. That wasn't difficult to say, was it? But if you are having an inflated ego and sit on an imaginary high horse, you refuse to see it. That's Blood's leadership. That's why players are leaving. If you're thinking if I dislike Blood so much, why stay? That's a simple answer. It's easy. I'm busy. Free-to-play players have a lot of time. They don't have a serious job, family, or they work from home, etc. First off, feelings hurt. A little harsh there, McKee. Whatever that person's name is, Cobb. They can play 6 to 10 hours a day. They can stay up all night. This game is their focus in life. Dang, he's really going in right now. Or this person. I don't know if it's a guy or girl. This person's going in right now. I'm a whale. They don't want to lose me. I mean, now you... I mean, listen. Inflated ego, though. I'm just... you got to call it how we see it, right? We got to be fair to everyone. Some battles I can't get... Now, again, not to diminish other things that they're saying. I just thought this line was funny. Some battles I can't get online and people cry about me not having enough merits. You know who you are. Sorry, but some of us have a life. I just like how you could see the trend here of, they don't have lives. It's, I'm so busy. It's just, you again, if someone writes something long, sometimes you'll see some crossover and some trends develop. Yet I'm still in Blood and no one is kicking me. Instead, they're recruiting me to leave. Could it be because I'm giving so many free chests to all the free-to-play players and Blood leadership knows without whales, Blood is nothing? Okay, now on to Seals. They broke off this season and wanted to do their own thing. Fine. Everyone can play how they want. But they wanted to be friendly with Blood, so there wasn't any bad blood. That's cute. I see what you did there. That was good. It did not work. Blood has been trying to lure all the Seal players back into Blood all season. Blood doesn't want to lose whales. The problem is Seals thought they could sit on the outside and just have help from Blood. That's not happening. You left, you broke out. Blood doesn't owe you anything. If you want to operate on your own, do it. Don't ask Blood for help and expect it. You can always ask, but you can't expect it. You left. Why not leave at the end of the season? Yeah. I know. Hate leadership, but it's just one more reason. Now for ANCS. I love how he's like just this player's just covering all involved parties. The whole ordeal goes back to sensitive egos. We lost Zone 5 to Dragon again. No one is happy, so the blame game starts. ANCS blame Seals. Seals gets upset and tell Blood they need to side with Seals and fight ANCS. Blood says no. Seals says fine, we'll side with Dragon and zero ANCS. Blood knows ANCS is more important to their future, so they protect ANCS. This upsets Seals, since they were supposed to be good friends. Ha 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 ha. Guess not. This short paragraph sums up the stupid drama this season. Seals should not be so sensitive. Who cares if ANCS blames you for the loss? They are nothing. It's free to play alliance. They're just going in. You let them get to you. That is weak. Also, for those in Blood reading this, if you don't already know, Blood is over. There are at least 2 groups of large whales and active players forming up to migrate out. These groups include players from leadership, whales, and free to play. So if you think our alliance will still be here next season, you're 100% wrong. Stop using the word betrayal because no one was. It's just people taking sides with groups who will benefit them the most. Seals will be gone in a couple weeks, and CS will join what's left of Blood and be unhappy. This whole story will be laughable by next season because everyone involved will be gone. Okay. Wow, there is a lot to unpack. Interesting. First and foremost, let's see if there's, because I want to give some thoughts here, and there's a few points I want to touch on, but I want to see if there's any other comments. I'm just curious, any other like juicy things here. But it was weird. I've always wanted to at least he's funny. Additionally, he has experience in rock and has a member dedication for the game and his job. DSNNK is low 100%, even when you hate them, even though some are toxic, but their leadership will back you up if their homies are from the same server, is bullied by others and burn together. Way too many loud egos in these alliances. I don't want to point that out. Hang on, yeah, let's just read the most ones. Well, really hoping they would end up having better reason for the betrayal than just being mad at PotatoFarmer. When you keep getting betrayed every season, you're going to start looking at yourself and ask if you're the problem. Let's see. This seems a little unbiased. A lot of screenshots from one side, Seals, and not on the... Okay, so those are just a little bit more on the video. Let's see if there's anything here on Chisgle's video that we'll take a look at now. Again, I'll link to that in the description. You can't have leaders who are immature and don't do what's best for the group, but instead are selfish. So if anyone wants to know the name calling that happened, keep in mind this was a leader of an ally alliance, not a member within our alliance. It was, oh Lord, which is funny, because the guy I was targeted at was the one guy in leadership that didn't want to fight us but got outvoted. If there are a bunch of elementary kids, are they a bunch of elementary kids to even be hurt by just name calling? You also cured my OCD for getting those Frager sculpts perfectly. Season 2 has been the season of betrayals, it seems. Let's see if there's any other high upvoted ones. Probably it. Betrayal's part of war. It's always has been, always will be. No one is above it. Okay. So now what I want to do is I'm just going to kind of zoom out here. I just want to give you guys some of my thoughts. Because I think there was a few, we're almost at 40 minutes. This is jam-packed. I hope, first and foremost, before I get into my conclusion, because I'm going to have some things to say here that are going to be, again, objective from everything, with like taking one side or the other. The reason I really liked covering this was because there were a lot of different approaches, POVs and sides that individuals had, whether they were from the same alliance or from a different alliance. And it really leads itself into more of kind of a management of expectations, right? That's kind of what you're summing up, really, right? We're talking about what is the day-to-day player experience that you're getting in the game. And it doesn't really have to necessarily do, like, the things that you basically heard, right, summarizing is, one, some names were called, or name calling was done, some verbal abuse was thrown out there from at least one, if not multiple people. That essentially caused what you could argue to be the catalyst, right? Sure, there might have been things that led up to it. There might have even been some other things that were happening at that time. But the one thing that you consistently hear from all the feedback and everything that we read is that quite a few of the replies focused on how, well, the words that were exchanged were really what blew everything up and started it. Right? Now, it doesn't mean that something else couldn't have started it, as Mathurian mentioned in a piece of his feedback, right, where maybe something else could have caused it, even if this didn't, but this, at the moment, was the catalyst, right? It was the words that were exchanged. Now, so there's a couple things I want to touch on. One, we'll start with that. When you have things like that, let's just say these were happening, right? Some of the responses we heard were, this had been happening for a little while, there was back and forth that were going on. These are typically things that you could have solved, right? And I'm going to say this from a multi-position. So if you have SEALs and you have ANCS, that let's just say, as we heard, were going back and forth. There was multiple mediation moments that BD said that they had to do. This is typically where, usually if you're the strongest or you're the most well-structured or most well put together, in most cases you are typically looked at as big brother, right? You're looked at as a go-to person, a point of contact, someone who's going to be the cool, level-headed, right, decision maker, or just general leader, right, in that case. And that's not to say you're a better leader than others. It's just typically if you have a figurehead in those cases, it's easier to have that person or that group say, okay, hey, right, we'll assist and we'll support, we'll mediate here at appropriate times. Clearly, that seems to be the case because we heard that from a few people. In that situation, yes, first and foremost, before mediation, ANCS and SEALs, leaders / leadership, whether that was the R5s first, if it was R5s and R4s, right, probably should have sat down to have a conversation or attempted to do it in voice. I like to try and do things in voice because I think that's a better way to really get to the bottom, right? Those who claim to be keyboard warriors, anyone can type whatever they want, and sometimes it can be very difficult to interpret emotion and intention with a text message. This is typically why it's better to get into a voice call and talk these things out, because you can hear tone, you can hear your inflection, you can hear pacing, you can hear if someone's being louder or lower, all right, with their decibels, etc., right? You get a better overall feeling, more organic, if you will, when you're in a voice call compared to just texting. So first and foremost, that should have been something that leadership should have figured out between them two prior to anyone else getting involved. I say this because, objectively speaking, if you are a leader, you should really be the coolest, calmest head in the room. You should be mature, you should be professional in how you approach, you should conduct yourself with decorum and a constant professional courtesy that you apply to everyone, internally and externally, of your alliance. And you really, again, you should be really good at soft skills. That's one of the things you probably have heard me talk about in some videos, how important soft skills are, which in short are really just the ability to talk and how you conduct yourself when you speak to other people. That's why I think first and foremost, right, this kind of falls on the leaders, and it falls on the leaders who were involved, specifically in any form of back and forth verbal, right? That should have kind of been squashed between those individuals first. So in my thought, right, LuhGinus and then PotatoFarmer, right? And obviously, and I'm saying in the very beginning, right? I'm not saying after it had already elapsed to get to a point where it is, because the longer that something goes on and it festers, the harder it's going to be for people to kind of swallow pride or to actually get in a room and sit down. You kind of have to nip that in the bud as early as humanly possible. However, now the next phase here is when you talk about the BD fam getting involved. The moment that you set that precedent of being an assister, of being a mediator, right? And that's not to say that it's a bad thing. But the moment that you set that precedent of doing it, and then people come to you for that, and bear in mind, if you've already had to mediate this a few times or multiple times, that is a little telling, right? Because again, that's what Mathurian said, along with a few other people that I had spoke to as well, or that had given me some feedback. And the reason I say it's concerning is not to say that the number of times per se is bad, but it's telling because what that means is that it wasn't able to be fully addressed in an appropriate way that would have actually solved the problem from persisting and continuing multiple times down the road, as it clearly has done and has played out. So either the way that you're mediating is I don't want to say isn't correct, but the way that you're mediating just did not get the job done, we'll say, right? Where either A, you need to look at maybe have someone else mediate, maybe approach the mediation in a different way. You know, were there consequences? Were there stipulations or restrictions that were put on? You know, or was it just, hey, we're going to have a conversation and that's it, but there's no real ramifications or repercussions that happen, right? It's kind of like you're just constantly rewarding the bad behavior, you know, and then you're kind of falling into this definition of insanity type window, right, where you're expecting a different result from just doing the same thing over and over again. Right, there has to kind of be something that happens at that point. Again, I don't know what was what was talked about in this conversation, so we're just kind of speaking generally, if you will. And then we get to, I think, point number 3, which is the situation of the, I think someone had mentioned about, where was it? Like with some of the merging and like what was some of like the farm alliances being called free to play or not kind of, or just being known as a second alliance. And this is kind of the BD approach that I'm going to touch on here. Because initially when BD was formed, and this is just kind of a side point, but I find that it is relevant, and I'll connect the dots here in a moment. So when BD was initially formed, they were looking just to kind of be one alliance, right? Like that's how it was being promoted when you saw the ads that were posted, when you saw Chisco's announcement on his Discord. I think when he mentioned it in a video at one point, it was, hey, we just want one alliance, and we just want to fill it with the best players, best spenders. But then as they started getting a lot more attention and attraction, they expanded that. Right, and then I believe it became 2 alliances at that point that they wanted to kind of fill in and have be the 2 main alliances, right? That they would fill with spenders and I would imagine heavy or high and medium players that were financially available, let's say, or financially well off. And then obviously kind of high activity players, I imagine, were in there as well. And then any of the other alliances, right, would just kind of be farms or academies, as an example. And the challenge with this, and this leads into the whole like ANCS merging with them, trying to funnel into one alliance, right? Whereas, bear in mind, if you're like, you have to think about it long term. If you're able to sustain a high level of activity and high player engagement and low retention or low dropout or drop off rate, then you don't need to do merges. Why? Because you always will have almost a full alliance, right? If you're able to set yourself up in that way. So one of the reasons why you see when I do projects, I always try and have as many alliances as possible is because you have to think about the long game. You have to think about where can I pull players from to fill in or fill in gaps or fill in activities kind of one by ones here or there, right? Because most of the time in a season 1, you're typically going to figure out where you need to kind of do your small to medium-sized merges in the second half of the season, which is really the more appropriate area to address, if not even like the last third or last quarter. And that's not to say that you will never need to do a merge in the future. It's just typically you want to try and get those things hammered out in season 1 before you get to future seasons. Excuse me. So because of these things because of the way that the BD's family hierarchy, which is really more resembling a mega alliance structured family, initially starting off as 1, but then had 2 going in, your funneling is very extreme, right? Because everyone wants to be in the main alliance, in this case having 2 to start off with, and then what seems to be 1 or 2 at the moment. And so because of this, you have this like very heavy pyramid that is just constantly funneling, incredibly strict, upwards. Compared to if you have a lot of alliances that are spread out, you don't really have a funnel. What you have is this, right? You can have transitions that happen to and from, but most of the time you're not seeing any type of steep incline at all when you have multiple alliances and you're kind of focused on a balanced approach, right? Because no one's trying to be stronger than the other. If anything, the goal is to try and be as balanced as possible so you can reduce the need or the want for players to say, oh, well, I want to go be a part of them because they're stronger, right? Or they're more competitive or they have more activity, right? The idea is that you're trying to kind of create that environment within all of the alliances that you run and then only minimizing or reducing the number if absolutely needed through merges or condensions, etc. So when you have this situation that plays out where then ANCS is like, okay, well, hey, they're going to merge into BDO because what we heard is that, right, they were supplementing some activity. You had ANCS that had, SEALs wanted, I think it was ANCS to go into them as well. And so right, you have all these kind of merges that are happening, right? Some of those challenges can be, and I want to point out one of the things that actually would really help in a situation like this is having home kingdoms. Because if you had a home kingdom that you could go back to, even if it was just for a week or two, you could look, and you had home kingdom leaderboards, you could go around to all the active alliances and find players there that you could potentially look to fill in. I'll give you a great example. When I was back, shout out to my homegirl Azza, when I was back in Rock playing in 1196, right, she was like the epitome of just such a hard worker for the time obviously that I knew her. And one of the things that she did that I absolutely loved in the kingdom is she went around the entire map and she looked for players that were either in low-ranking alliances but had decent power, or they were unnamed or unmarked. They weren't in an alliance, right? They were alliance-less, and they had decent power. And she went around and messaged every single one of these players. She was able to basically fill a shell at that point, almost halfway, I believe, and was able to eventually, because now the shell started seeing activity, other players ended up kind of starting coming out of the WordWorks and joined, and then we were able to, through my migration recruitment efforts, we were able to do some more filling for the alliance, and now, bam, all of a sudden you have another alliance that is, I think was in like the top 6 or top 8 or something over a period of time that it got into that you built up from scratch. So being able to do things like that, again, segue into my suggestion, if you will, that I'll eventually have to post on the Discord, but that's something that I think could help in this situation. However, I really think that's kind of where you have a third challenge that comes into when you're looking to do those types of merges, because usually anytime that happens, you always have this like A and B team that's being formed, right? Because clearly ANCS was active enough to where not every single one of their players could fill into BDO. And because you don't have a alliance capacity of 300, 400, 500, right? It's always going to be difficult in those situations. It almost seems like to me what would have been the more appropriate thing would be to find players of lower ranked alliances and then fill those into BDO and to ANCS and potentially SEALs at that time, right? Because that seems like, if you're reading between the lines, that kind of seems like if you have 2 alliances that are asking for one alliance to merge in and they don't want to split, they also want to be a part of leadership. To me, that's one of the biggest mistakes that you can really make. You should never, read my lips, boys and girls, you should never look to merge top alliances with each other as your first initial action. That should always be your last resort. But again, if you don't understand, or if you haven't done it before, to where you can see what the challenges and the repercussions are, along with how it affects player psychology for those that feel like, oh, first string, second string, A team, B team, and that's just one way of looking at it, you may never be able to really fully understand how negatively impactful it is to do things in that way. And again, I can tell you because I got a lot of experience on this one, I just would never do that. And I think that to me is a third point that did play a factor into some of these areas, but isn't necessarily as big as the first two. With that in mind, those are my thoughts, right, on the situation. I think Yeah, it is. It's rough all around, and I hope that for those of you still here watching this with me, you enjoyed, you appreciate the objective, unbiased coverage where I just showed you the feedback, we showed you the thoughts that were shared from players, from some of the leaders, and then, of course, I gave you my opinions here at the end to wrap up and conclude, because I think that these are great learning opportunities, right? A lot of you know that when I do these types of videos, it's never really, oh, hey, who am I going to bash or who am I going to slide? It's no, let's cover what the facts are and what are people saying, and then let's look if there's an opportunity to improve, to develop, to grow from this. And to me, sometimes you might, like some people said, you might just have people betray because they want to betray, right? And you can read into it or not read into it, but sometimes it's just as simple as that. Unfortunately, I think for something like this, because again, I'm not, it's hard for anyone to say who isn't fully immersed in the situation, right? I don't know what those conversations were like between LuhGinus and PotatoFarmer. I don't know what those mediation sessions were like, but when BDO stepped in however many times it was to assist ANCS and SEALs, excuse me. So for some of those, we'll never know. But I hope, if anything, you guys enjoyed, and that, I think, is going to do it for me. I would love to know, what do you think on anything that we covered? What do you think on my thoughts? What do you think about what some of the feedback was that we got from the leads, from what some of the members of management and some other players in those alliances shared? And then, of course, if you have anything else to add, I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments below. That's going to do it for me this time. As always, until the next round.